Welcome. You're listening to Passages. I'm Drew, and I got Jason and Tim with me. We're ready to go. We survived the eclipse. I'm so glad that we got through the apocalypse and we're on the other side. It does mean that we have not been raptured.
Not the apocalypse, just the eclipse. You've got it wrong. It's just an eclipse.
Oh, because we're waiting on the cicadas to hatch.
Well, in New York,
that's next, right? Yep.
In New York, things had to get hairy. They had not just a partial eclipse, but an earthquake that day as well.
They've had,
right.
So I've got a friend that works with me in New Jersey. She's had a 4.7 and then 2 fairly significant aftershocks.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably getting ready to break off into the Atlantic.
Yeah.
It's about time.
Do you know when the man in the moon needs a haircut? What happens?
What
He
happens,
clips
Jason?
it.
Oh, there we go.
There's you a good one.
Where's my trombone noise?
Perfect.
Good,
I
Jason.
mean, you can't talk eclipse without a little eclipse humor. Did y'all go outside and see it? It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I actually was picking Jackson up because he had an early baseball game that afternoon, and I just, no sunglasses or anything, I looked at it.
Oh, no.
And I'm blind now. I can't see. Can't see a thing.
Well,
Burned the retinas out of my eyes.
I've been surprised. I predicted we would have more than 10 calls at the office this week about it, and I think we've only had maybe 4 or 5 calls. One
People
visit.
who thought they had damaged themselves.
Yeah, that thought they might have blinded themselves or
I hope
created
you
some
said,
problems.
"Come on in."
I mean, I think my
I hope
comment
you said,
to one
"Do you
of
have
them.
insurance? Come on in."
I think my comment to one of them that had kind of texted me about it. I was like, if I shined a flashlight in your eyes for a couple of minutes, you would see spots for a while. So you're going to be okay. But it was cool. I got some really cool pictures as it was coming through the clouds.
I have a question about your pictures.
Yeah.
Jason's pictures are phenomenal. You said that you took it through your sunglasses.
Yeah, I just held my sunglasses, my camera and lens up against the sunglasses and just took it through the sunglasses so that it was kind of filtered and polarized. And
so it was for the polarization.
well, and I didn't know if it would mess up my camera on my phone.
Seriously?
Yeah, I really didn't
That's
know.
my question. I wondered, would it hurt your phone?
I don't know. And it just, when I took one, I thought I need to just try. I tried one through the little dark eclipse glasses that are now lying all over the streets around the world, or at least the United States. And it didn't give the right effect. So I thought, let's just shoot it through my sunglasses. Of course, I was then unprotected myself, but I got cool pictures. So I guess that's okay.
I did see a map, I think today, of the next eclipse, and it cuts right across Alabama. Does
it really?
Its direction is like southeast, sort of to northwest. So, and it goes across Orlando and then across Alabama, and then I think ends up in California.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
2044.
Oh,
maybe?
I look forward to that.
We'll be sitting in a nursing home.
Yeah.
We might be sitting here with our headphones on talking about it, broadcasting live.
Well, since I looked at
doubt
the sun the other day, I won't see that or anything else for the rest of my life. But it was
it
worth
might
it.
begin with, "This is another episode of Passages from the Village at Cook Springs."
Yeah. I'm here with
If
Jason.
That
Guys,
is not nice.
where are y'all?
Where did you guys go?
I mean, 20 years, I'm in my mid-60s, and I'm the young one in here.
Yeah, 20 years from now, I'm not in my mid-60s. All
We'll
right.
just leave it at that.
All right, here we go. Number 1 for this evening. Let's do a little Yay Sports revisit. All right, so in last week's episode, I mentioned a question for my item. What's maybe an interesting story or something that happened to you on the golf course? And I was thinking about that this week driving to work, and I realized that I had not told a story that not only is one of my favorites, but it involves Jason, and so I need to tell this story. So that's the reason I asked for a redirect. So Jason and I were playing one Sunday afternoon, probably 15 years ago,
was a long
something
time
like
ago.
that.
If I had kids, they were young.
Yeah, at Roebuck, the public golf course at Roebuck. And it just sits in sort of it's a typical municipal golf course, sits in the middle of town. He has a fence around it and highways right next to it, and
you can bounce a golf ball right down Highway 11.
A lot of chances for me to damage cars on a course like that.
Airplanes going overhead constantly.
That's right.
That is
The
true.
flight pattern, absolutely. And then a real claim to fame of this golf course is this is one of those things that people always mention, but we never saw it. But Bobby Bowden liked to play this golf course because when he was the coach at Howard University, which was Samford, and he grew up in Birmingham. He played this course with his buddies, and the story is that he would come back often after he was a big time college. During his time as a big time college football coach at Florida State, he'd very likely be playing with his buddies at Roebuck, and it's just cool, tidbit about that course. So Jason and I were playing on a Sunday afternoon, and I think we got to, I want to say it was number 8.
That's what my memory recalls.
All right.
Yeah.
So it was number 8. It was a par 3.
Uphill.
And uphill all the way. In fact, so uphill that you really couldn't see the entire green.
You could see about half up the flagstick.
Right. And so it seems like I teed off first. It really doesn't matter what I did. The story's about Jason. So Jason, he teed off, and the hole is cut back right in a place that we can't see. And so Jason hits it. It's like, Jason, that's going to be a good shot. And it's breaking, I believe, sort of fading to the right.
Oh, it was going to the right if I hit it, yeah.
And so it hits, and it's like, that's going to be good. Well, there were 2 guys standing on the number 9 tee box, and this is how we knew what happened, because it bounced, it rolled a little bit, and those 2 guys start jumping up and down. And so we're thinking,
I got that really close.
Does that mean what it might mean?
Yeah, I was thinking I'm close. It was a good shot.
And so you start wondering about these guys. Do these guys jump up and down because it was real close, it lipped out, it hit the flag stick,
or they were running for their life,
or are they jumping up and down because it's what we think could have happened?
Yeah.
So we drive up the hill. Sure enough, it's in the cup, hole in one. And so it was great. It was a hole in one, but we
didn't get to
witness it.
No. And I think on that 9, I shot a 64. So, I'm glad I had it. It could have been a 66.
But that. You know what? Who cares? There was a 1 in one of those boxes.
I still have that scorecard. I still have the scorecard with a 1 on it. I will hold on to that as long as I can.
Wow.
Oh, that one. Yeah. So anyhow, that was a interesting golf story that we left out. All right. So quickly, I need to go to my story for tonight so that I don't eat up more than my allotted time.
We got all the time.
All right. Hopefully, we've got enough tape. We have extra cassettes if we need to.
We can put another.
I can go get a film canister or tape canister if I need.
All right, excellent. All right, my story is about one of our fellow podcasters, right? So he shares, our profession. He's also on Spotify like us.
He's a special club.
A little bit different because I think he has about 11 million more listeners than we do. Oh. But his
comfortable lead.
But you know what? His group is no more dedicated.
You know how many listeners he started with? 1.
There you go.
Like we did.
I don't even know who we're talking about.
I don't either.
Yet.
So my story is about Joe Rogan, and so he's got a few listeners. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this story is entitled "Joe Rogan Sparks Controversy with Claims About Biblical Prophets." And so this is from
I hadn't heard this.
So a recent discussion that Joe had on his podcast. And so I don't know the people that he references here. Maybe you guys do. But he was having a discussion on his podcast with a writer and documentarian named David Holthouse. Okay. Never heard of him, right? But what turned me on to this story is this take that they had about biblical prophets. So it says, the conversation turned to the biblical story of Ezekiel, who describes seeing 4 creatures with 4 faces and 4 wings in the sky. Holthouse remarked, to anybody that's done DMT or ayahuasca, really tripped on psychedelics, you read that and it feels sort of familiar. the glory of God, these visions of these beings. And then Rogan says, and the fact that these things are constantly changing their experience. That's the thing about the DMT experience. So clearly Rogan's done this stuff as well. It's not a stationary, static experience. It's like constantly changing and moving in front of you. When Holthouse suggested maybe Ezekiel found some of those mushrooms, Rogan replied with a maybe. So anyhow, these are psychedelic drugs they're talking about. All right, so I want to get a little further into the discussion because they then referenced another guy, a cognitive psychology professor named Benny Shannon, and this guy was associated with the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. And I think when I tell you this, I'm guessing that this guy shot his mouth off because really later he comes back and sort of takes back everything he says. All right. This professor speculated from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in 2008, speculated that Moses' encounter with the burning bush might have involved DMT from an acacia tree common in the region and known for its high DMT content.
I have heard that theory before.
So you're smoking this tree, this burning bush, and you're seeing God, and God has brought you 10 commandments of how to live life, which sounds a lot like what you experience when you have the DMT experience. When you have that and you have these contact with these entities, they kind of give you guidelines on how to live. So then it says...
now, who was that, the professor?
This was the cognitive professor from the Hebrew University.
And is he saying this on the show?
No,
or this is...
he had said this in 2008, and they were referencing this on the show. But there's more to come on that guy in just a second. So this professor's hypothesis proposed, as far as Moses on Mount Sinai is concerned, it was either a supernatural cosmic event, which I don't believe, or a legend, which I don't believe either. And finally, and this is very probable, an event that joined Moses and the people of Israel under the effects of narcotics. Really?
Based on...
So
he's just checking out, well, I don't want to believe that, and I don't want to believe that, but man, I love acid.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want some shrooms, and that's the way I want it to read.
This article wraps up with this quote, "I never said Moses was stoned when he saw God." So this says that Shannon clarified his views. This is I don't think clarification is necessarily the word that
changed.
Complete 180 in a March 2008 opinion piece for The Guardian entitled, "I Never Said Moses Was Stoned When He Saw God." In this article, he expressed his profound respect for Moses, Jewish traditions, and religious faith as a whole. "I would like to assure you that I have the deepest respect for Moses, the Jewish tradition, and religious faith in general. I agree with Rabbi Pete Tobias," whoever that is, "that the spiritual, cultural, and historical import of the biblical events and of their associated text and religious messages is not diminished by their association with psychoactive plants." So it's like, I thought the whole time he was about to get away from it completely, but then he threw in a little psychoactive plant at the end.
It sounds like he got back home after his first article or quote,
and he got called to the principal's office at Hebrew University of Jerusalem.
And they said, "This is not what we teach.
Yeah,
you need to rethink." So I've never heard of DMT or any of this stuff. Is this a treatment you can go do? Is this something that's under the care of a guided?
No, I think it's legal in other states.
Okay, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I not either.
I don't know anything about it, really.
The only thing that gave any insight to it, right, was it mentioned like burning an acacia tree apparently has some content of DMT, and they were implying that the burning bush was one of those kinds of trees, and they were basically getting high and seeing visions.
I guarantee you
because they were burning a bush up or something.
I guarantee you once I get done with the burning bush, if I'm high from DMT or whatever psychotropic drug he's doing, I'm not leading a million gripey Israelites out of Egypt and dealing with all that mess. I mean, was he on something to explain that? I mean,
yeah, it's just really weird that, it's like either believe the Bible or not.
Right.
But to sort of in the middle of it, twist it into, well, there was something going on, but they, documented in God's word were just these guys on a trip,
Right.
It's just
because
weird.
they're into that. there's a couple things going on with the Joe Rogan guys, which I don't listen to the podcast because
I've never listened to any of his
profane.
podcasts.
Yeah,
you can't listen to it.
Yeah, the language is terrible.
It's garbage. But they're really into acid. So I've heard this before. So anything that they can tie into psychedelic drugs, they're going to. They're always looking for that angle.
Gotcha.
This guy with the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, he was probably caught up in the interview, and this happens a lot where people are being interviewed and they don't think about the fact that my words are going to go beyond this room. They're trying to impress the person they're talking to. They're really caught up in the theory, and they say some irresponsible things that they have to take back later.
Yeah.
Their
Because he did say
speculation
Moses
turns
was
into
stoned.
law. Yeah,
That's
right.
exactly what he said.
Exactly. And even in the end, in his clarification, he mentioned these, and he referred to them at the end as psychoactive plants. It's like, so you're really not backing away from your thoughts
No.
or whatever. You're just trying to cover your bases enough to keep your job.
Well, it's just another example of somebody wanting to try to explain away something that they don't understand.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
trying to come up with a.
And
It's
I-
not even reasonable,
you're right.
but reasonable way of describing what happened.
It's the same thing that people do when they try to explain away the crossing of the Red Sea.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's this portion of the Red Sea that goes dry this time of the year, and it was just dried up. Of course, that doesn't explain how the Egyptians drowned
Right.
directly
That would have
afterwards.
made that even a bigger
Yeah.
miracle, right? How did they drown in a little patch of
Tim,
mud?
you can drown in 2 inches of bathwater.
And to Jason's point, this theory about the psychedelic drugs doesn't explain how Moses went on to copy down the law, lead a group of people, judge all these people, keep a nation alive in the wilderness for 40 years. Drug addicts don't really do that well at leadership.
Right.
No.
So,
It is a bit of a stretch on that story.
and I know we're oversimplifying this. I've read some academic papers on psychedelics and the burning bush and some of the other things that occurred in the Old Testament, and none of it was it was all speculative. And I know we're oversimplifying it. I think what he would probably say is Moses would get into a state of mind where he could receive the visions, and God used that state of mind to open him up to this or that.
Right.
But
basically, what it tries
The Bible
to do
doesn't
is,
say that,
Right.
so-
It somehow tries to minimize prophecy and
Right.
and the word of God, right? Which he could, at that time he gave directly to these prophets.
Right. And it's not important how God delivered that. Really, it's what he delivered that we
Right.
really ought to be focusing on, not trying to find an excuse to use illegal drugs or
Because
dangerous
also
drugs.
in that discussion, it sort of invalidates the word of God as well. Because
Yeah,
in
that's
part
what
of
they're trying
part
to
of what
do.
we were reading, it said, "Hey, I've been on a trip like this before, and when I did, man, I had some great thoughts. I thought about God. I thought about things like some commandments to live by and things like that." And
Which
so,
is to say, I'm inspired just
Right.
like Ezekiel, or I'm
Right.
equal to Moses.
It's like, well, sit down and write out a long
or
book.
even
Right.
really that that those commandments were an invention of Moses himself and not the word of God.
Yeah.
Which then means it's not God's commands, right? So
Yeah, and if you want to be like Ezekiel, how about lying on your side for a year? Do that one. Drop acid and lay on your side for a whole year.
Well,
I don't think it'll work.
to quote a former member here and
Uh-oh.
friend,
Do we do that?
old friend of ours, Jay Brown. Either you believe it or you don't. If
So
you don't
stop
believe it,
wasting our time
stop
here.
trying to come up with things to prove everybody else is wrong. Just let those that believe it, and come Judgment Day, we'll find out. I'll never forget him quoting that very loudly in a class.
yes, indeed. All right.
So I'm going to
Jason,
take us
over
in
to
a
you.
different direction. So I found an interesting story. So we've all flown a good bit. Tim, you just got back from a trip. I got back from a trip a few weeks ago. Flying is a bit stressful. I have at least had 3 pocket knives taken away from me going through security, right? I mean, they do a pretty good job of making sure you're not taking anything on. So I saw this story and I thought the nerve of some people and how mad I would have been if this had held me up at the airport. So this story comes out of Taiwan. Man busted at airport for allegedly smuggling wildlife in underwear.
All right.
And that's you.
I think this is Critter Chronicles for sure. Yeah, I shouldn't have just sprung that on us. So officials arrested a Taiwanese man at a Thailand airport, December 5th, after customs officers discovered he was allegedly trying to smuggle a prairie dog and 2 otters owned to a flight in his underwear, according to the report.
From where?
He was arrested in Thailand. The man was heading to Taipei, the capital of Taiwan, and allegedly put the animals in pantyhose before securing them around his waist with packing tape, according to Taiwan News. He was caught due to the X-ray machine at security at Thailand's, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this. The 22-year-old reportedly bought the animals in a Bangkok market, according to the New York Post. A video from the outlet shows the man cutting the socks containing the animals out of his boxers. Once the animals were rescued, they were handed over to the nation's Wildlife Conservation.
They were still alive?
And Restaurant Association. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't say that part. Per the New York Post, the man will face charges for allegedly removing protected wildlife from their natural habitat, allegedly trying to export them without a license, allegedly trafficking prohibitive items, per Taiwan News. If found guilty, he could face up to 10 years in prison and a fine of $30,000. Guys, what are you thinking trying to smuggle a prairie dog? Who knew they had prairie dogs in Taiwan anyway?
Maybe they don't. That's and North American animal.
And 2 river otters inside pantyhose, inside your underwear, through security at an airport.
Has he seen Zootopia? Otters are very dangerous.
They are a very dangerous animal. And a prairie dog, they don't have a good reputation at all. I mean, they just pop up from time to time,
right?
Drive you crazy.
You can't keep that thing hidden on a plane.
No,
he specializes in popping out of nowhere.
He is gonna pop his head out occasionally,
pop out of the pocket,
and take a look around. You just never know. And what do they do when they get hungry? I'm thinking this is not a short flight, right?
Maybe one of them was food. You think maybe the 2 otters were food for the prairie dog? Maybe.
Oh, I think if anything, it's the prairie dog.
Yeah.
You know what a prairie dog is in some countries? A delicacy. It's what comes next to the mashed taters.
So, was there value in where he was going? Like, would this be a endangered, a species that doesn't exist there? I mean, I think
that would be an exotic animal in
Taiwan. Never in a million years.
If he gets it there, does he become like the Joe Exotic of Taiwan?
Is that the Tiger King?
Yeah.
Oh, he could be.
Joe.
Good reference. I didn't see a picture of him. I don't know if he had the mullet and mustache of Joe Exotic. But how do you...
In our next exhibit over here, the only prairie dog in Taiwan.
So
just
couple
over here
of
in this
questions.
cage, I've got him wrapped up in a pair of pantyhose. He likes it like that.
Well, what, are they going to rob a bank? Is that why they had the pantyhose on? Like robbing the convenience store?
The otter's face distorted by the pantyhose, like in the movies.
Okay, so here's my question: how do you get to the airport? You're either taking a bus, taxi, car. Surely you're not walking with 3 animals inside your drawers. You're just not doing it.
I don't
drawers. I've got my little southern came out there.
I don't think he thought it through. Is my answer to your question.
Does he try to smuggle them? Does he get in the airport and then go in like a bathroom to get these prepared for going through security, or did he ride to the airport?
And do these
with
animals,
3 animals in his
pants?
Do these
animals not make a sound? I mean,
it's kind of like that trip you make to Lowe's and you buy some wood and then you come out and you're like, oh, this is not going to fit in my car.
Yeah.
This is the same thing. He went to the market one day. He had gone just to get a banana or something, but he saw these cute little furry animals and he thought, I'll take 3. I'll take 3.
What am I going to do with these?
He came out front and there was this little girl. She had a box. She had 4 prairie dogs.
He just couldn't say no.
And $5 a piece to a good home. And then he thought, I got to go to the airport now.
And the whole time he's walking to security, the prairie dog just keeps popping his head out of the waistband. Are we there yet? Looking around. I mean, it's the insanity of it. Can you imagine being the guys at the X-ray scanner? You're standing in that weird position. The thing goes around, and they're like, We've got some animals in this guy's
Security?
pants. You've got what?
We're going to need to. We need to call everyone over here right quick.
Sir, it looks
Can you
like
shut down the other lines?
Sir, it looks like he's prairie dogging.
I was wondering when that verb was
I'll
going
tell
to be
you one
used.
thing. That's one of the odder stories I've ever heard.
Oh, that was a good one. But anyway, I just thought that story was too good not to share. So the moral of the story is don't try to smuggle animals in your underwear through the airport. They will arrest you. 10
I'm
years
glad
in
you
prison.
told me.
10 years in
10
prison is a
years.
lot of time.
A lot of time to think about what you did.
Yeah, and how
If I had only passed up those little furry creatures at the market,
if that little kid hadn't been selling those prairie dogs outside.
they just weren't so cute.
Hey, not really a related story, but on my last trip, I set off the alarm for an extra little frisk.
Did you get a little pat down?
Yeah. And so the guy asked me, do you want to do this right here or do you want to go into private? And
Did you say close on or close off?
I don't know what you guys would have said in that situation, but I thought, no, whatever we're going to do, we're doing it right here in front of
doing it in
everybody.
front of
You're not
everybody.
taking me away from people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
I've seen that movie.
Did you just get in the position? You
Yeah.
didn't answer him. You just put your hands on your head.
Did he at
and-
least take you
I
to
think
dinner
I s-
afterwards?
I think I said right here, and my group had walked off, right? So they fortunately didn't see what happened, but I caught back up with Millie, and I said, "Well, that was interesting."
Nobody's kid should
just-
have to watch their
just
father
went through a lot,
go through that.
because I mean,
At any point, did you say lower?
the
Lower?
lower.
He's like, I'm having to frisk you.
He said, "I'm going to use the back of my hand in this area."
I've had that experience.
Did you have that
I
one?
have, yeah.
But on the screen, the area lit up. I mean, I was like, maybe the zipper in my pants or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
But
I don't know what you got going on in there.
But yeah, he got more familiar with me than I ever really desired for him to.
Every year when we go to Peru, I get searched. They go through my bags. They pat me down. It never fails.
You're just one of those guys.
It was
I look suspicious.
Some
Maybe it's the
people-
beard. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm being profiled, though.
yeah. But he got me because I set off the alarm somehow.
Yeah.
Anyhow. Oh well,
Well,
I made it through. I'm not
tough,
scarred
man.
too bad. All right, Drew, over to you.
this article is entitled 8 Passengers Stranded on African Island After Norwegian Cruise Ship Left Without Them.
Oh yeah, I saw this one.
you heard
Yeah.
this?
I heard about this, yeah.
Yeah.
A dream cruise vacation has turned into a nightmare for 8 passengers left stranded on the African island of Sao Tome and Principe after their ship left without them because they were late to return from a private tour. The tourists, 6 from the U.S. and 2 from Australia, were aboard the Norwegian Dawn, a Norwegian cruise line ship which departed from Cape Town, South Africa on March 20th for a 21-day voyage up the coast of Africa set to end in Barcelona, Spain on April 10th. But on Wednesday, the group of 8 tourists was late to return to the ship by more than an hour for the all-aboard time of 3 p.m. from a private excursion on the island, which was not organized by the cruise line. Now, have y'all done a cruise before?
No.
When I was 15, 16.
I've done one, and they go to port, and they let you out, and they say, be back at this time. We're going to blow the whistle. We're not going to wait on you. And they warn you. They make it very clear. And
And you've got choices, right? You
Yeah,
can
you
either
can
go on excursions that
go
they
anywhere
plan,
you wanna go.
right? Or you can do whatever you'd like to, right?
right.
I mean,
And apparently they chose to do what they wanted to do. And
They
Jay,
were kind of up in arms about it, too, that they got left, weren't they? Did I see
Yeah.
that in one of the articles?
Jay and Jill Campbell of South Carolina were part of the group that was left behind. They said their tour's operator notified the cruise captain that they were going to be late to rejoin the ship and that the local Coast Guard tried to get them on the vessel, but that they weren't allowed to board. As a result, the couple and the rest of the group have been stranded for days on the island off Nigeria, grappling with language, currency issues, and complicated travel to catch up with the ship. The lovely people of Sao Tome were very gracious, very hospitable. They'd reached out as much as they could to help us find hotels, Jay Campbell said. we were able to get to a tour agency there to arrange flights to the next port of call. Very difficult process. You're dealing with multiple languages, language barriers. You're dealing with different currencies. Finding someone, page 2, that even has dollars, trying to get an agent to understand where we need to go. It's one of those, you can't get there from here, he added. And it goes on and on and on with a lot of excuses, belly aching. But the basic, this goes back to a common theme we talk about here on Passages. Folks, take responsibility for your actions.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know how this doesn't happen? If they say be back at 3:00,
you're back at 2:50.
You get back in time to get on the boat because they make it clear.
I'm guessing that this is not something that they just brush over. They're like,
no, it's
3:00's not like the time to be running up the
everybody's
up
off
the steps,
like going
right?
down the
This is
plank
we're
or whatever.
casting off the lines.
Wait for me.
We're
By the
pushing
way-
away from the
Right.
docks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This 3:00 means you probably should have been here about 1:30.
And
And they blow that horn.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, that means
and of
get
course
up, get on.
they're not going to let you just crawl back on the ship from a Coast Guard vessel because there's a major liability issue. You fall between them, you're squished.
Or that could be pirates, and you can't let pirates on your ship.
Well, I mean, they have the flag with the skull and crossbones, Tim. It makes it easy to
You
pick
can tell
those
those
out.
folks.
Jolly Roger.
Dummy.
So
We were
but
considering-
like on an average cruise ship, there's what, like 8 million people on a cruise,
Approximately, give or
right?
take.
So clearly, these 6 people get to delay,
They're special.
the cruise and the schedule because
Thank you.
right,
Yes, because, when you're...
because it's me.
And you know what they thought, and sounds bad for all Americans, but they thought we're Americans. They're not going to leave us. We're the Americans.
There's something to it that there were
Well,
6
you know what
Americans.
the Norwegian cruise line will do? Leave you behind.
Yeah.
The Australians knew they were going to get left. They had no doubt.
The woman said, "We were considering whether or not we were going to board the ship. It is in dock here in Senegal. We believe there was a basic duty of care that they had forgotten about, so it does concern me." They rejoined the ship, though, at some point, got back on the cruise ship. I think they finished the cruise. And I was looking here to see if they
did from
They
there?
got comped.
You know
they
what
got comped some stuff too, though. I think I want to say the cruise line comped them. I want to say I read in an article they comped them another cruise or something like that.
They should have been paying for peanut butter and jelly, Sao Tome style.
They owed I don't see that, Jason. And
Maybe I was wrong then.
the cruise line didn't owe them anything. They are very clear about this, and they don't mince words.
No.
I mean, when I was on the cruise ship, the whole time I was off of it, I was like, if I don't get back, they will leave me, because they repeat that over and over again. We'll leave you.
So I'm walking onto thin ice here, guys. But let me just ask this question: why cruises? Why are cruises so exciting? Because I'm fairly introverted, don't like big crowds of people.
Well, they're not for people like you.
You put 5,000 people on a ship.
We all have multiple friends here, right? That go to church with us.
that love them.
That love cruises, right? And I think
Choose your words carefully, because we'd like to keep these friends.
Right.
Well, I
And
like
we
these
want you-
people,
yeah,
and
we-
I
we
like
want
that
you to
they have
all-
fun with it,
and
but I
maybe-
don't understand it.
Maybe in the comments when you leave us a review, you could tell us the thing you like best about
Yeah.
a
Let's get some-
cruise, right? So food, I've heard food's really
Food's
good.
good. Entertainment is
Well,
good. I
back
can
up,
get
back
that
up.
without a
It's
ship.
the all-in package, so you don't have the headache of having to plan where you're going to go.
Yeah.
To plan the
Yeah.
meals.
A lot of
the
them have
sleeping
child
arrangements.
care, right?
Right.
A lot of them have child care.
Yeah, you got everything you need. They go to these exotic ports.
And unlike what these people did, they also will plan your excursion for you, right? So you just check the box on a certain excursion, and it's guided for you. And
It depends.
I mean,
It depends
you can
on
do
what
that,
you-
right?
yeah.
If you choose to do that.
This was
Again,
a 21-day cruise.
Right.
And maybe,
So there was probably a lot of that going on.
maybe it's that it's been almost 30 years since I've been on one, so my memory is fogged a little bit. But the thought of being trapped
Well, that's
in
my
the middle
issue.
of an ocean
Yeah.
with 5,000 people. And guys, it's in the news. Carnival had a cruise ship fire not long ago. One time the power went out. They ate cucumber and mayonnaise sandwiches. I would be swimming to shore if I had to eat that. I would be like, can I just have a loaf of bread? I mean, it's
Yeah,
just...
there are on a short cruise. There's a whole day on this long cruise, there's no telling how many days that you're just on a ship on the ocean. And
Now, I love to
for
read.
my
If
money,
I could find a quiet place to read,
Well,
maybe that'd be nice.
there might be a deck for
and-
that.
If I find a quiet place.
And we've mentioned good things, right? We, on the potential negative side is the idea of a floating petri dish, right? I mean that
Yeah.
If you're germaphobe, it's not the place for you.
somebody's got something. A lot of people may have it by the time you get through with those 21
And
days.
I've seen the movie Titanic. I know what happens on these ships.
Mm-hmm.
I do not want to be the guy on the door that slips off into the deep blue
gotta
because Rose
go,
won't
Jack.
hold on to me and share.
It's safer than driving your car to work every day, Jason. Come on.
Right. More people
Isn't
die
that-
in
safer
the
than
car.
driving
that's
my
what
truck.
That's always
Yeah.
what you say, right? But
Yeah.
uh,
Anyway,
however,
say
if
that
I-
when planes
however, if
go
I-
down.
Yeah. However, if I wreck my car, I may live. If I wreck my plane or my ship,
It's over.
I'm gonna die.
yeah, I've seen us swim. All three of us swim in a pool before. We're not making it to shore.
No.
And I'm telling you, two of us look like a shark
I
buffet.
may float for a little while, but
Yeah.
somebody. Yeah.
And I look like I'm going in circles because my left side doesn't move as fast as my right side.
It's like, no, Drew, this way.
My brother wanted to race in a swimming pool. It had been a long time, and it was after I had Parkinson's, and I didn't think anything about it. And he's like, let's race across the pool. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And when my head finally came up out of the water, I just made a full circle, and he was all the way to the other end.
It's like,
I had no idea.
where do you find Drew in the ocean? Right where you left him.
Right. I felt like I was going straight as an arrow, and I thought I was killing it, to be
Yeah.
honest
Yeah.
with you. I thought, man, he's way behind me. And I actually looked behind me, and he wasn't there. And I looked in front of me, and he wasn't there because I had not gone in a straight line.
I'm looking back at the start line.
Because you were
Did
perpendicular
I
to
travel
the
in
direction.
time? I was going so fast. Did I change to an alternate universe? What has happened? And then I just,
man.
in my humiliation, realized that I'm a freak of nature.
So
that's what happened.
The question is, do you think you could get through security to get on a cruise ship with a prairie dog and two otters?
I don't think I can make
what's-
it.
I'm going to say no.
It's been a long time since I've been on a cruise. What's the security like? You've probably been on the most recent, haven't you?
The
Your
cruise I was on?
When was your last
It's
cruise?
25
I never went
years
on a
ago.
cruise.
You never went
No.
on one.
25 years ago for me.
Okay, so you and I are about the same time.
I don't,
frame.
and it's
probably
pre
changed a lot.
9/11.
Yeah,
There's
96 is I think
no
when I went on
comparison.
All
mine.
right, we need to talk to some of our buddies about security on a cruise. And
Yeah,
see what
I'd
that's
love to
like.
know.
If it's similar to, you would have to think it's similar
It's
to
gotta
security
be.
on a plane, right?
I would think
I mean, you're
so.
even getting on a vessel with a lot more people, right?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
I would think there's metal detectors and all that.
You're one
involved.
knife away from an Agatha Christie story.
That's
it's just
right.
waiting to happen.
Yep.
So. All right. Well, that's all we got for the first. What do we call it? First
segment.
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 Half.
First
We're only
portion, the
19 into
portion
these
of our
guys.
show
We'll
here.
come up with the right words eventually.
We're working on it.
It's halftime.
It's halftime.
It's 9:38.
We'll
We're
stretch our
sleepy.
legs a little bit. Come back in a few minutes with our next passage.
There's a language here.
All right, we're back, and we've got a great passage this week. Tim, you want to read it for us?
Sure. So this I heard this. There was a clip, and someone was just mentioning this quote, and I thought, well, I need to go look that quote up, and so I sort of got it secondhand, and I don't even remember the exact context. Well, what a great story! But this quote is from Confucius, right? So, Chinese philosopher, 4th, 5th century BC. And the quote is, this is a little different maybe from some of our other quotes so far. So we want to expand ourselves a little bit. So we're going to take a shot at this one. We have two lives, and the second begins when we realize we only have one.
Yeah,
Right?
this is a heavy one.
Yeah.
I had to read this one several times and think about it for
Yeah.
a while. Thanks, Tim.
Sure.
Yeah. It's more like confusion than
Yeah,
Confucius.
Yeah,
So
but it
you
makes
know,
a good point.
I like the idea of thinking about the phases of our lives, right? And a lot of times we have those critical moments in our lives that sort of define a new phase. And I guess when I heard this, I didn't necessarily focus all that much on like just the second life or having two lives, but it brought to mind that a lot of times we go through things, and, for all of us, right? Like when we had kids, right? That ushers in a new phase of our lives. But I do think that, the point that the quote's making is really interesting, which is, eventually you come to the realization that time is fleeting, right? And that's not something you do when you're our kids' age, right? When you're 15, when you're 18, when you're that age, you just think life's going to go on forever. And I mean that not in a derogatory way toward them, because they have friends that die, right? Or, they hear about kids that die and things like that. But just generally, you think, I'm going to be here forever.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to live for a long, long time. But you begin to get to our age and
you run out of time.
And you begin to realize that, we were joking around here, right? Talking about 20 years from now. Yeah, 20 years from now starts hitting into like some life expectancy numbers. And, so, if you think, just the reality, we hope that's not the case, but the reality is, I'm 57. I'm closer to the end than I am to the beginning.
Well, and it's hard, but it's good to get to that point.
Right. And I think that's the point here, right?
That's the point. It reminds me of a couple of things Solomon said. It's better to go into the house of mourning than to go into the house of mirth or something like that. House of feasting, Ecclesiastes 7. And then Moses in Psalm 90 teach us to number our days that we may get a heart of wisdom. And that's all about realizing how brief and uncertain life is. And I think, for our listeners that haven't had a chance to look at this for a long time, going back over the quote, we have two lives when we're young, in the sense that, kind of like a cat has 9 lives. That's kind of the way I read it is, hey, I've got plenty of time, and if I make a mistake, I got plenty of time to get back on that horse and try again. And, it doesn't matter what I'm doing now. I'm burning up my youth. But I got after that, I got plenty of gas in the tank. But the second life begins when we realize we only have one life. And that's when you wake up in a midlife crisis or whatever, and you're like, oh, I'm faced with my own mortality.
Right.
I need to get busy doing what I always planned to do tomorrow, the next day, what I've been putting off forever.
Or either deciding what that is, right? That I what's my purpose?
Yeah.
If I've been just sort of existing, and you start to think about your mortality, you need to start questioning, what do I really want to accomplish here? What do I want to, what's the legacy I want to leave? And certainly within this, we talk about our spiritual lives, right? I mean, there's more seriousness that we think about the end and our eternity. But, just in general, thinking about, what do I want to be, what I want to leave behind? Yeah. And starting to, try to think about that a little more deeply than just, I've got all the time in the world. And maybe that's what that second life is about, is it gives us a chance to think a little more seriously about what we're trying to accomplish, right? A lot of times the first half's just sort of getting to the place where we want to get to have, a standard of living, or, what I've always sort of envisioned my life being, having a family, and, but maybe then that second life begins when it's like, what do you want to leave behind?
Yeah. Well, and I think also when I think about the two lives, I think about the innocence and the naivety of children. I mean, you get tickled when you hear your younger children talk about the things that stress them out.
Oh, yeah.
Life, when we're kids, we don't realize how good we have it, right? I mean, a lot of times our biggest concern is, what are we going to have for dinner? Where's my baseball glove? Did I leave my keys? Those kind of things. But as we get older and we start to face some of the trials and some of the tragedies of life, we start realizing, hey, this life's a pretty fragile thing. And it's in that realization that we start really focusing on living, defining what's important to us. You know, I think about at almost 45 years old, the things that are important to me today and the things that even 5 years ago, 10 years ago that I thought were important. And so much of that perspective has changed. And a lot of that due to my own stupidity and my own ignorance and my own chaos I created in my life. But I have a new life. I have an opportunity to live, to heal, to be real, to be vulnerable, to be honest, to be open, which are all things that I really struggled with before. I think sometimes in our tragedy and our difficulties, we find hope in life, hope that maybe we didn't have, maybe hope we didn't realize we needed. But it's like flipping a switch sometimes. You really can start to define what's important to you and what matters, and you start thinking about your value. I mean, Christ died for me just like he did for you, just like he did for Drew, just like he did for every person on the planet. Even on my worst day, I know that he did that as a gift for me, and I'm a valuable person, even if I don't feel it. And then as you gain value, you start to gain some perspective on life, and you realize, wow, I wasted a lot of years on stupid pursuits. I better make a point to follow my heart, to follow the Lord, to be right in the future. I mean, it's like having a new lease on life. That's how I read this too. Mm-hmm.
Have y'all heard that commencement speech given by Steve Jobs?
Yes.
Yeah, it's good. If you haven't heard it, Tim, you ought to check it out. He does his usual thing where I've got 3 stories to share with you. And one of the stories is when he got diagnosed with cancer. And it's kind of unsettling to hear him talk about it, knowing that the cancer would eventually get him. At the time, he thought he was cured. But when he was first diagnosed, he was told he just had it was pancreatic cancer. So he was told he just had a few months to live and get his affairs in order. And he says something in that speech to the kids. He said, remembering you're going to die is the best way to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. And he said, in effect, he was saying, the day that I realized I was going to die and I was going to die soon, I had nothing to lose. So I was suddenly not afraid to take risks.
He was free to live.
He felt free, yeah. And he lived several years after that, and eventually the cancer got him, I think. But another thing that I thought of is probably my favorite case study in the Bible of somebody who got to their second life and realized they had only one life is Jacob. Mm-hmm. And one of my favorite chapters in the Bible is Genesis 32, where he wrestles with God, as it turns out. And there's so many just little words or phrases or sentences that are just packed full of meaning. And the one I've been focusing on a lot lately is at the very end, the part that people don't pay much attention to. During the wrestling match, or whatever you want to call it, the angel touches his hip socket and puts his hip out of joint. And he still won't let go, and he blesses Jacob and gives him a new name, Israel. And then at the end, it says, the sun rose upon him as he passed Penuel, limping because of his hip. So I imagine the rest of his life he was limping, mm-hmm. which was a constant aching reminder of his mortality, which told him you're in your second life, which is where you realize you only have one life. You better make the best of it. And Jacob seems to be different from that point forward. And we need those reminders of our mortality. Otherwise, we'll be like the tragic... There's this trope that appears in a lot of like vampire movies and stuff where somebody has immortality and they're unhappy. I think it's in like Lord of the Rings too. The elves are immortal, and there's one that decides to become mortal for love's sake, and it seems like the mortality made life richer, and that's related to what we're talking about mm-hmm. here. knowing that there's a deadline and that time is short really focuses you like nothing else.
Right. Not that it's directly related to this, but, a lot of times when, like big tragedies occur, like things like 9/11 and things like that, those moments happen and we all get, it feels like it's a life-changing, never-ending, moment that will never be the same again. Mm-hmm. And then, a year goes by, 2 years go by, 5 years go by, and we sort of all go back to whatever that change enacted in everyone individually. Eventually we all sort of work back into our first life too often, right? Because, those moments, are sometimes opportunities for us to reassess, when something, and we've said it already, sometimes hope comes out of tragedy. But the key is, to really make the change and not for it to be sort of a temporary second life. And then before we know it, we're lapsing back into just an existence.
Yeah. Kind of a state of sleep.
Yeah.
Unaware of the important matters in life.
Yeah. And so I think that, for all of us, just, and this really can apply to folks of all ages, right? But for those of us who are a little more seasoned, just realizing that, there is something liberating in this second life. And you made that comment about, you start to think that, all the things that you've been after, you're not going to have those things even all that much longer. They're just going to be trouble for somebody else to deal with. Mm-hmm. And, that there's a liberating feeling to that, right? Because, sometimes that takes too much focus on our lives. Well, maybe we begin to get to focus on more things that are important, relationships and, helping others and, opportunities that come more from, the people and the relationships and our relationship with God than from the things in our lives.
As you were talking, there was something that I thought of, and I don't know how well it ties in or applies to this, but another way I think of the two lives is that there's the life I lived yesterday and there's the life I live today. I can't do anything about the first life, what happened yesterday, and there's some truth in having this one life and realizing you have this one life of living in that moment, in the present. I mean, we're all guilty of either beating ourselves up over our past or looking way down the road and saying, tomorrow, the next day, 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, this is where I'm going to be. Mm-hmm. And we forget to live in the right now. With addicts, the phrase "one day at a time," and it's a very important phrase. And that's if you want to beat addiction, that's how you do it, one day at a time. You wake up every morning and you start over your sobriety date for that morning, and you say, you know what, today I've got a new chance to fight this. I've got a new chance. I've got a new hope. I'm going to trust in God. I'm going to trust in the process. And I'm going to live my life to the fullest today. And I can't do anything about tomorrow. And I sure don't need to spend time worrying about today or worrying about tomorrow. And I can't think about yesterday because it's going to take all the energy I've got just to focus on right now. And, I think it's so easy to get caught up in the hubbub of life. I mean, it's like we blinked and our kids are seniors in high school. And I can sit and think, man, I sure did miss out on a lot of opportunities over the last 18 years. But I got today to start fresh. And that's the new life. I have a new life today, and I get to choose what I'm going to do with it. That's the other side of that.
And your new life has been built by your past life, but it's dynamic. It can change. It can continue to move forward. And so your past isn't irrelevant. It's just gone. Right. It's over.
Yeah.
And you're
maybe,
always in
and
now.
Maybe it taught you some things that you need to continue to do, and maybe it taught you some things that you need to change and do differently.
Yeah.
right? But hopefully we learn from those things. I'm about to say something that's really cheesy, so I'd like to apologize in advance. But
Bring on the cheese.
the philosopher Tim McGraw wrote a song one time called "Live Like You Were Dying," right? The whole premise of that is a solid premise, which is, basically, I think he wrote it about his dad. Maybe his dad had cancer and he wasn't going to live very long, and so I think the tagline of that song is, "I hope that someday you get the chance to live like you were dying." Well, that concept's a pretty serious one. That's pretty heady, and the idea is, if we lived our life thinking that this is my, if we knew what our last week was going to be, when it was going to be, we'd be doing some pretty, there's some things we would be, that'd be on our to-do list, right? We'd be contacting some folks, talking to folks, having some serious discussions maybe we needed to have with some folks. And, and I don't want to act like, every day you ought to act like it's, it's your last, right? Some days are just days that you're getting through and doing the best you can. But I think maybe we need, that's part of this second life, is to begin to deal with, operate with some urgency.
Yeah.
If there are things that you need to do, if there are relationships you need to repair, if there's some things you need to say to somebody that may be just a hard discussion you need to have with them, maybe it's about changing their life or whatever, we need to think about doing those, right? Because this second life's only going to last so long.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting by defining it that way, and the things you just mentioned, talking to somebody, reconciling with somebody, the thing that keeps us from doing that, the thing that makes us all procrastinate and put stuff off to the next day is fear.
Yes.
Well, when you're faced with the idea that this is the life I've got to live, and I don't know how much longer I've got, or if I do have a defined period of it's ending tomorrow, the fear goes away because there is that sense of
Steve
urgency.
Jobs,
That's right.
You feel
Yeah.
fear is feeling like you've got something to lose.
That's right.
And Steve Jobs is saying, remembering you're going to die tells you you've got nothing to lose.
And that's where we've got to understand our own value that God has given us, not a value we've created on our own, but we're one of God's children. Christ died for us. We're valuable people. And we need to share the love. We need to be truthful. We need to be vulnerable. We need to be open. We need to not avoid things that make us a little uncomfortable, because it's cliche, but you're not promised tomorrow. You're just not. And man, the older I get, the more that really hits home, especially with my history. The importance of today has really, really changed in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. I mean, over the last few years, I've learned if I start thinking about what the future may look like, that is terrifying. It's scary. If I focus on the past and what could have been and what caused this, and you get into that game, you just ruminate all the time. And the beauty is that you have now, and there's so much you can be doing now. And now is a gift, and now is all that there ever is.
That's right.
And, it's funny, we get so scared about things coming up, or, if you're like me, sometimes you just dread something that's coming up that you've got to do. Just use a simple example like going to the dentist. And it's never as bad as you build it up in your mind to be. Because we always seem to have what we need in the tank to survive the now. Like whatever it is, we get through it. And it's never as bad as we build it up to be. So why not just live there where you're sufficient for the task? As my wife says, you're enough in the moment, and you'll be enough in the next moment if you have another moment.
Yeah. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't, when talking about we have two lives and the second one begins when we realize we have only one, that we don't talk about redemption, salvation. I mean, it's, the first life we live is we're lost. Without Christ, we're lost. Without God's mercy and grace, we're lost. And there is a way to find hope. There is hope in salvation. There's hope in the blood of Christ. And you talk about your real life starting. If you can find Christ and you can come to him on his terms and humble yourself before him.
You're born again.
You are. You start with a renewed life. And that spiritual stuff that's negative and bad, you can't forget it. It's in the past. It's going to be there. But you're given hope. You're given a clean slate to start over with. And man, I don't think Confucius was talking about that.
No.
I mean, this predated Christ.
He didn't quite get there. He was a smart guy, but he didn't quite get there.
But you can't talk about we have two lives and the second one begins when we realize we have one. We got one life and we're living it for Christ. And we're living it in a way that hopefully we spend an eternity in heaven with God, being in the light, in the presence of God, like the speaker said tonight, restoring the presence of God to ourselves by being there. And that's a big step. I don't know. We would not be right not to mention that tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a good way to conclude the episode. Good heavy quote this time, so I enjoyed that. Hadn't been down the Confucius road yet. I imagine we probably will revisit some Chinese philosophy in the future, and lots of other philosophies and different eras to draw from. We've got more quotes than we got time, so we will keep this thing going. In the meantime, while you're waiting on the next episode to come out, try out our Instagram page if you haven't done that yet. Passages_podcast. I believe the Twitter handle is PassagesPod. And, of course, we're on iTunes or Apple Music, whatever they call it now, and Spotify and Audible and Amazon. We're everywhere. We're nationwide, just like ZZ Top. So check us out.
We're bad. We're nationwide.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Hey, we're really thankful for the folks that listen to this because, we're having a blast. But I mean, y'all are encouraging us a lot.
Yeah.
When people talk about like, we love to ride down the road and listen to this on the way to school or on the way to work or whatever. I mean, you guys know we're talking, and most of you guys know us, and but we're having a blast doing this. But you're a lot of encouragement to us, and so we'll keep doing it as long as you keep listening to it.
And if you've got ideas and quotes, reach out to us. I'd love to have somebody just say, "Hey, this quote's something I've been thinking about. What do y'all think?" And let's talk about it. That would be really cool.
If we can make this thing interactive, we've gone next level. So that's the goal. So help us out, spread the word about the podcast, and stay tuned. Next week we'll have a new passage.